Now, well, I met him thanks to Marina Tonini. He came several times in my broadcasts. Just the name, Pier Giorgio Caria.
What's got into you? Thank you. Like I was Gigi Riva in his days. Gigi Riva was a great hero for the Sardinians. He represented for us. Can you hear me? Ooh, thank goodness. I was saying, Gigi Riva represented for us Sardinians. The redemption, because Sardinia is practically an Indian reserve, where the Sardinian people, who have quite different roots, a whole different history, and a whole different origin. In fact, it has been conquered, and lives isolated in this reserve, which is called Sardinia, which is empty all year round. The second largest region in Italy, about 1.5 million inhabitants, concentrated in the major cities, of which Cagliari alone has almost half, Cagliari and hinterland. So, as a Sardinian, I understand better the argument of struggle, of redemption, of emancipation, because in fact, to this day, the Sardinian people and the Sardinian island is the most depressed region in Italy because it has little political weight, and also for strategic reasons, as there are very important military servitudes, it is held in check and is not allowed to develop. The Sardinians then do not make great efforts, but in fact, there is an isolation that makes this emancipation difficult. And Gigi Riva represented that redemption for us Sardinians, thanks above all to him, but also to the other footballers who in '69 formed the Cagliari team. This practically invisible team won the Scudetto and even took part and formed the backbone of the Italian national team of that time. That's it. We experience the same condition on a planetary level. We are a small Indian reserve in which the agents of the government, which has defeated the native people, vessel, crush, offend, kill, torture, those who, instead, they should be protecting. So today the situation of the Earth as a planet and of humanity compared to those who hold power in this world is that of being a reserve within that infinite and wonderful space where life and civilization thrive, without any barriers, where freedom is the most sacred value defended. So, in the universe we are a small reserve, entrenched with barbed wire, with weapons, and we are under embargo because we are dangerous. We are dangerous people. No. They are dangerous, those who crush us, those who govern us. They are dangerous. But there is a message coming from that Gigi Riva of humanity called Jesus Christ, who says, he says to Pilate, am king, but my kingdom is not of this world. For if my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have already set me free. That's it. Christ, the Lord, is the liberator for us, because it is in His plan, it is in His Father's plan, to free from those who torture us, who deceive us, and who crush us, to free us. So, He is the Libertador. He is the divine Gigi Riva who will come to rescue the oppressed, vexated, and offended people of planet Earth. I've met Red, so I'll seize the ball. Staying within football jargon, I met Red thanks to Marina. I found a great person, a friend. I have a lot of fun with him. He's a good-natured person. And he surprises me, Red. He always surprises me. I don't know if he has noticed, but he did something that literally amazed and fascinated me at the same time. Because certain laws, certain forces, move above us to manifest messages and reality that perhaps not even we, despite being the protagonists, are able to understand. On 13th of September, it was the anniversary of the Fatima apparitions. Just that day, Red Ronnie published on his YouTube channel a very important message, which is a message to the powerful of the earth. And I hope they listen to this message. It is a message that was received in the 60s by my spiritual father, Eugenio Siragusa. And it is a message that explains what it is, the true cause of the extraterrestrial presence on our planet. I will read the opening parts. From heaven to earth, an indisputable reality. The planet Earth is under the assiduous control of superior creatures, those angels of which Giulietta spoke just now, who are messengers. Let's call them what we will. They are superior beings, much more evolved than we are, who are present in all stories, in all religions, in all cults, and in all the myths of planet Earth. And it is always them, the angels of yesterday, the extraterrestrials of all time, not astronauts from other worlds, but highly evolved beings who come from higher dimensions and who have unquestionable and unchallenged power in the universe, even of life and death. If the absolute ruler, who is called God, for us Adonai, gives them order. He did it with the Great Flood, he did it with Sodom and Gomorrah, he did it other times. I repeat, from heaven to earth, an indisputable reality. The planet Earth is under the assiduous control of superior creatures from evolved worlds of sidereal space. It is in progress. Although the responsible class of men who governs humanity on this planet wants at all costs to ignore a precise and methodical plan to deprive man the mastery and kingship over the species, placed under the tutelage of his intelligence and of his insane industriousness. The plan which these superior intelligences are about to implement and develop calls for attention, calls for the global solution of all the negative aspects that have been troubling for a long time, thousands and thousands of years, I would add, the organizational and evolutionary balance of the human species and of the other subspecies, so the animals and plants subordinate to the inconsistent and chaotic developments of human mental activity. It is also true, despite the skepticism of human science, that it is in the plans of these cosmic intelligences the necessary downsizing of an unspecified number of souls in order to bring about a relative stability of universal values and to eliminate all those chaotic and disharmonious aspects that make life in this world hell. Because our life in this world is hell. And in this hell perhaps we are among the privileged, but we know well that the vast majority of humanity suffers terrible afflictions to the point of death due to the worst disease, which is hunger. It is the most terrible disease on this planet where Europe alone throws away each year billions of tons of edible food. To do what? To maintain market prices. Because this planet is dominated by Freemasonry, as Giulietta said, but it is dominated also by the banks that are in it. The men of power are inside. That is, the masonries are inside the banks are inside the masonries. So the message to the powerful is what? It is not mine. It is from these intelligences who have all the power to achieve this great liberation. In this context, the operational plan of these intelligences necessarily envisions a selection. The selection is relative to the quality of human beings who have demonstrated by actions, thought, and deeds the stability, or at least the supremacy of the values of ethics and altruism compared to the values of unethics and selfishness. So this selection is underway. These beings have all the tools to accomplish this fact. They are present on our planet in the millions, and some millions are even incarnated in human form, living, working, and operate within human society to bring to completion, one way or another, this grand plan for the liberation of humanity on planet Earth. So, what should we do? We, dearest friends, what I have said and I have repeated so many times in my events, in meetings, and so on, we must get to work. Eugenio is the most important contactee in modern history, not so much for what he has produced, like photos or footage. He only took one photograph, where this document is the most important document in all of human history. It is a photograph of a being of light from the fifth dimension. Thus, it is the only existing photo taken by a human being where one can see a god. Because that fifth dimensional being is a cherubim, so for us, in fact, a deity. I recall that in Catholic theology too, there are three divine dimensions: cherubim, seraphims, and thrones, which are the fifth, the sixth, the seventh dimension. So, not just extraterrestrials. They are present in our world, these hierarchies too. Even in human form, the divine dimensions operate at this moment for this grand plan of salvation of earthly humanity. Therefore, we must get to work. We must nourish our souls, but we must nourish our reality, also with positive actions, with social participation. We cannot be spectators, inactive of what happens in the world. If we really are the improvement, this improvement must be seen. What does this entail, friends? One obvious thing. Christ reminds us of the heart of the law, which is love thy neighbor as thyself. Thus, the center of the initial action is you. So another parable, another similitudes the Lord uses, he says, "Do not put a piece of new cloth on an old garment, for the new cloth, being more durable, tears off even more the old cloth." This is to say what? That we must renew ourselves. So, if we are not renewed, and we do not live renewal in our daily reality, we will not be able to help others to improve. It will be impossible, because as we have not made that journey, we will not be able to help other people to make the same journey. In this, these superior intelligences who have the power to dramatically overturn, even with their scientific technological power, the situation of this planet, is that of giving us important tools that we can use. It is no coincidence that Eugenio, as I was saying, as a contactee, the most important element he has produced for humanity, apart from this photo which shows us a reality and shows it to us in a scientific way, thus no longer religious beliefs but science. Because where there is evidence, that proves that such a thing exists, that is scientific proof. But the magnificent treasure that Eugenio received from these beings is the knowledge that was written in over 40 years of works by Eugenio Siragusa in his messages. I disseminate these messages. I recommend them. Not only him, I recommend other messages that Eugenio himself at his time recommended to us, which are the messages from the directive group that manages and directs extraterrestrial contact throughout planet Earth. These messages, we must read them, we must study them, we must make them our own, and we must put them into practice. There are aspects which we still do not exploit. We almost do not exploit anything beyond the things that are for mere survival and related to the instincts of the body. But there are some very important aspects. Automatic. Give me time, guys, eh?
You still have 15 minutes.
All right, thanks, Red. I gave him 50 euros earlier. Actually, 100 because he is important. These wonderful messages are originated by higher intelligences. Therefore, the form in which the thought, which Eugenio and other contactees have written down on paper, is a thought that springs from intelligences that have already been living for billions of years, that marvelous reality which we, all of us, hope in a short time will also be our reality. Now, the brain is an intestine, is a stomach that has to digest cognition. We all know how complex it is at the beginning, the study of a new subject, even simply when we study road regulations to get a driving license. But the brain was endowed by the Creator with extraordinary capacities. So, as knowledge approaches to the unknown, the brain slowly digests it and begins to make it its own, creating new neural networks. So, in the end, what seemed incomprehensible to us, school subjects and many other things, becomes familiar because the brain, in the time of study and possibly practice where this is necessary, has built a new neural network which is able to digest that matter that was previously totally unknown to us. And this works in all areas, languages, and so on. So, reading extraterrestrial messages, reading them, rereading them, actually transforms our brains. It transforms and improves our ability to reason, to think, to deduce, and to determine. This is something we never do, because we are not taught. But thinking has its own specific logic which these beings explain. True thought is not that chaotic jumble of stimuli that we receive from outside and we send back. If you pay attention, if you do some meditation, and concentrate on thinking, you realize that thought jumps like a goat on the face of a mountain, jumps from one thing to another, often driven by emotions, love, animosity, envy, dislike, and one spends the day with this chaotic thought which perhaps, sometimes or often, is an automatic response to information that we receive from outside. Instead, thought, the true thought of the free person, that is, critical thinking, has its own specific method. That is, it must be done in a certain way, and it is triune. Thinking is triune. The first part of critical thinking is data analysis. So when someone proposes something to us, we must collect data. We must not let ourselves, carried away by emotionalism, may be manipulated, of the one who conveys a certain information to us. And this we have dramatically experienced in these 2 years, 3 years, terrible ones that we have gone through where our rights have been trampled on at all levels. So, we also often react by doing actions that are detrimental to our own lives, simply to an external stimulus that is not thought through, is not analyzed. Thus, the first part of critical thinking, explain the extraterrestrials, is data collection, analysis. So, when I compare or I am confronted with a new situation, I have to collect the data. Because from the collection of data and analysis arises, let's also call it meditation. So, meditation on data because meditation on this data will determine an answer. I deduce an answer by analyzing the data. Once I have collected the data that needs to be verified, I will deduce the answer. I will be able to determine the action. If the data is correct, the answer will be correct. The action will be effective. So, we must get out of the infantilism of automatic reaction to a sensory or emotional stimulus. We must make those canonical 5-10 second of ohms, detach ourselves emotionally from the problem, analyze the data, deduce the answer, and only then determine the action. We have not yet been able to mature this condition. Humanity, in fact, is managed through the manipulation of emotions, and the prince emotion to manage us, to force us, to make ourselves self-defeating choices is fear. Fear, fear, fear. That is why it has been hidden from religious teaching our immortality. That is why it was denied by Constantine in 325 AD. A law that is not spiritual, it is a scientific law. Reincarnation has nothing to do with religious beliefs. Reincarnation is a scientific fact, where we, the spiritual entity, eternal intelligence, in cycles, we need to incarnate, which is our laboratory phase, and then we disembody, which is our analysis, study, deduction, and determination phase, and then we reincarnate to experiment and see if we have learned anything from previous lessons. All these cognitions are hated and feared by the system, because the truth will bring down the system. And truth cannot be a fact, only external. Because if we do not represent the truth, we are not of the truth. And when Christ, who is the truth, comes to earth to liberate the world with his angels, those who are not from the truth will be discarded. Therefore, the truth must walk the earth, because these beings in Jesus will only manifest themselves when there will be a sufficient number of human beings who are the truth, who have matured their inner Christ. But what is the inner Christ? The inner Christ is your correspondence to the universal laws. Because in the evolved worlds, there are no religious beliefs. There is scientific knowledge of those laws, spiritual and material, that govern the immanent physical part of the human being and also of creation, of the transcendent part, science of spirit, science of matter. These concepts, friends, are not easy, I understand, but by striving, by studying, by practicing, being present to ourselves, being present to everyday reality, not only of our little surroundings, but also of what is happening in the nation, of what is happening in the world, will make us possible to be part of the new kingdom, which will be established in this world as well. Thus, that kingdom of which Christ says to Pilate, I am not, my kingdom, it is not of this world. But he wants to bring this world into his kingdom, or rather, bring it here, the kingdom that is out there. All those stars that we see at night which are wonderful, which fascinate us. When I look at these stars, I know that there is true civilization there. There is freedom, there is love, there is brotherhood. But this is possible because each human being of these worlds has made up in himself the truth and the knowledge of what is the reality of the nature of the universe, which are the laws that govern spirit and matter. Thus, religious beliefs, political ideals, philosophies have their days numbered, because in the future world only true truth will exist, and that is that there are two forces, one that governs matter and one that governs spirit, and they govern them without asking permission. You see, I have given the example many times. We have religious beliefs in a cause of religious beliefs. We even make wars or torture other peoples. But how come all human beings and everything that lives on this world is born and grows, gets old and dies? Where there is uniformity of facts, there are laws that operate. If we are not yet aware of this reality, it is because we do not know how to read the great book of life, which lies before our eyes. For if religious beliefs or political creeds or financial creeds had any real effect on life, bankers perhaps should not grow old, Islamists should not die, Buddhists, maybe some, instead everyone, regardless of our beliefs, our lifestyle, including the poor and conversely the rich, including the weak and conversely the powerful, we are all born, grow old, and die. Therefore, it is a universal law. So, my invitation is what, friends? Let's delve into extraterrestrial science, because these beings did not come because they had to convince us that they exist. They don't give a damn. They have brought us a great treasure, which we must welcome, which is this wonderful knowledge, which is capable of transforming our lives, not in a distant tomorrow, today. This journey can begin today. I started it 35 years ago, and it has taken me where I never thought or hoped to arrive. For in this truth you will find what you have not yet been able to find, your power. Because each of us is a divine being and is powerful. And each one of us, if he makes the right choices and applies the right knowledge, is able to determine the reality he wants for himself and for his loved ones. I love you. I thank you. I will be in Milan tomorrow. Thank you. I will be in Milan tomorrow. Exactly in Cavanago. I will speak about messianic crop circles. I will present one of the new ones. But this year, one of the most important messages, reiterated, is that Christ is about to manifest himself with his heavenly militia, who are these wonderful beings who love us so much and want us free. So, tomorrow in Cavanago, starting at 16:30. Thanks, Marina. Thanks, Red. Thanks, Luca. Thanks to Father Vissarione, who for me, I see in Father Vissarione, I see an apostle of Christ 2,000 years ago. And to all the other friends who are here, thank you very much. A big hug.
Pier Giorgio Caria. Sardinia.
Sardinia. It is beautiful. Ayo.